You've finally gotten your interview notice. What should you do to prepare to make sure that your interview goes as smoothly as possible? This is immigration attorney Amanda Thomas. Watch my video because I am going to make sure that you are prepared in the best way that you possibly can be for your immigration interview. You have waited so long, and now you only have a few weeks to prepare before your interview. This video is going to talk about the best way to prepare for your consular interview to make sure that you don't have to wait any longer. Consular interviews are usually scheduled on a monthly basis. Each embassy or consulate will send a list of open appointments to the National Visa Center, who then assigns cases to have their interviews. This means that most people don't get more than a month's notice before they have to get ready for their interview. After you have received your interview notice, the first thing you should do is read the local instructions. Each embassy or consulate has its own instructions on how to prepare for the interview, and they each have their own list of specific documents that they would like you to bring. Each embassy has its own website where you can find the embassy-specific instructions. I will post a link in the box below so that you can find the embassy or consulate where your immigration interview is being held. The next thing you should do is schedule your medical exam. Every person applying for an immigrant visa has to undergo a medical exam to check for medical conditions that are considered a matter of public health concern. This exam can only be completed by a certified doctor. These certified doctors are called panel physicians. You can find the information on where to schedule your medical exam on the embassy-specific website. You should be making your appointment for your medical exam as soon as you get your interview notice. This is because sometimes at the medical exam, the doctor will discover that you need to have additional procedures or tests done, and you want to make sure that you have enough time to get those procedures or those tests done in enough time to complete your medical exam before your interview. An example of a procedure or a test that a panel physician might require you undergo is to have a titers test to see if you have all of the proper vaccines. If you don't have all of the proper vaccines, you need to get those vaccines in order to have your medical exam finished. You should pay special attention to the COVID vaccine. There is a special rule for the COVID vaccine, and it says that you have to be fully vaccinated before you're able to finish your immigration medical exam. There are various types of COVID vaccines out there available to people. The vaccine that you need to have for your immigration interview needs to be either WHO or CDC approved. That means that we're talking about Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson. Both Moderna and Pfizer require that you have 2 doses before you're considered fully vaccinated, and those 2 doses have to be spaced several weeks apart. So that means that if you waited until you got your interview notice to start getting vaccinated, you won't have enough time to complete both doses before your medical exam. If you find yourself in this situation, you should try to locate where you can get the 1-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine in your country. I also believe that they may call the Johnson & Johnson vaccine the Janssen vaccine in other countries. The last step that you should take in preparing for your visa interview is making sure that all of your paperwork is in order. Part of the job of the NVC is to make sure that all of the paperwork is in order so that a consular officer can make a decision on your application. That is why some types of immigrant visa applications have to go through document processing, either through the SEAC system, through mail, or through email with the National Visa Center. And being documentarily qualified means that the National Visa Center has determined that all of your paperwork is in order. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, everything is really backlogged, and it's taking a lot longer for people to get scheduled for their consular interviews. That means that sometimes you may have waited so long to get a visa interview that the original paperwork that you submitted to the National Visa Center is no longer valid. The first document that you're going to want to check is your police clearances. Police clearances are only valid for 1 year. You want to make sure that your police clearance is not older than 1 year, or else you're going to want to try to get a new police clearance before your interview. Also, you may have to get police clearances from other countries, depending on if you lived there, how long you lived there, and how old you were when you lived there. If you have lived in other countries, you want to check the rules for that. I will put a link to the rule in the box below. You should also check on the affidavit of support to make sure that your supporting documents are up to date. The affidavit of support requires that you attach the sponsor's most recent tax return or the sponsor's most recent tax transcript. This is because the consular officer is going to want to see the most up-to-date financial documents for your sponsor to make sure that they still qualify to sponsor you. You should also check on your passport. The embassy or the consulate may not be able to issue you a visa if you do not have that much time left of validity on your current passport. This is because the visas are sometimes good for a period of time, and if the period of time is longer than the time left on your passport, they won't be able to issue you that visa. I would say to update your passport as early as your government will allow you to. You are going to need a valid passport for many things, not just your immigrant visa interview. So you're going to want to just make sure that you have a valid passport at all times. As far as preparing other documents, again, refer to the local guidance for your particular embassy or consulate. Sometimes each embassy or consulate will have very specific rules about what documents they want you to bring. So just make sure that you look at your embassy's particular rules. So what happens if you can't get all of your documents in order before your interview? You can try to do two things. First, you could try to reschedule your interview. Of course, no one wants to do that because you've already been waiting so long and you don't want to have to wait even longer. But sometimes rescheduling your interview can be a good option if you're missing an essential document. If you go to your interview without all of the documents that you need, the consular officer may issue you what's called a soft refusal. A soft refusal means that your visa is refused, but you have an opportunity to provide the missing documents later. However, this often takes longer than it takes to reschedule an interview. You have already waited so long for your interview. Make sure to do the best you can do to have everything in order to make sure that your interview goes smoothly. Of course, I plan on making more videos. If you found this video informative, if you found this video helpful, of course, please like my video and subscribe so that you can be notified whenever I post anything new.